this whole week we have been talking about life's greatest secret. Life's greatest secret. And today, the aspect of life's greatest secret that we are going to examine is called evaluate and reset. What's that going to mean? What does that mean? I want to say, thanks to the principles that we have learned this week, we could actually, each and every one of us could actually, it's going to be, you could actually evaluate and restart or reset your life. So today, I want to make this as much as practical as possible. So this message is going to be a very practical message. I want you to use these principles to improve your life. I want you to use these principles to change your life. And I want to give you is like master class that I want us to do today. I want us to do like training, a kind of training session today. So what I would like you to do, if you have a sheet of paper and a pen, it will really help you to be able to put some things down. Because the things I'm going to be talking to you today are going to be very practical. If you don't have a piece of paper and a pen, no problem. I will still give you those points and those practical exercises, but you just need to come back to the message and listen to it again, and with your pen and paper, and then you could write them down, yes, then you'll be able to go through the exercises. Now, for you to change your life, so the idea of this message today is to help you change your life. It doesn't matter what amount of failure you have gone through in the past. It doesn't matter how many demons have tried to tie you down. It doesn't matter how many demonic forces have attacked you, how many witches and wizards are after you. It doesn't really matter how much, hopelessness that you have experienced. It doesn't matter, how many attempts you have made to improve your life and you have failed. I want to give you major, concrete, step-by-step guidance and direction on how you can begin to improve your life from today. You can begin to change your life already, let's say from tomorrow, Monday morning. And the way to do it is, for you to be able to improve your life or to change your life, you need some suggestions. And I'm going to give you those suggestions. You see, but before I go ahead, let me make a very interesting statement that has been consistent with what I've been saying all this week. Any one of us could actually take the decision to become whoever he wants to become. So I have spoken this week about the fact that life is predictable, and your life also, every one of us' life is predictable. But I want to go one step beyond that and say your life is not just predictable, you yourself can become your own prophet. That is how much provision God has given to us. That is how much secrets God has revealed to us in this world. That is how much easy life could become in this world if we could only know the ideas in the mind of God. So the point I'm trying to make is that you can determine what your life will be like. You can actually determine the quality of your life. You will decide it. You will not wait for the economy of the country. You don't need to wait for the political situation of your country to change. It doesn't matter how bad the economy is. It doesn't matter how horrible your politicians are or how corrupt they are. You decide, and you can decide the quality of your life. You can decide the standard of your living. You can decide the standard of your life. So, it is in your hand to say who you want to become. Either you want to become, a millionaire, or you can actually take a decision that you become a millionaire, you become one. Some people think to become a millionaire is only for certain people, only for some elected people or fortunate people. No, it depends. You are just your decision away, one decision away from whatever you want to become. If you want to become happy as a person, just a happy person, it's just your decision. If you want to become a successful minister or pastor, or you want to become a mega church pastor, it is your decision as well. If you want to become a scientist, to be able to be an inventor, you can take that decision. Whatever the burden is in your heart, what is your passion about? Identify your passion. Identify the things that you want to do. And if you want to become the head in that thing, you will become the head. If you want to become the first, you will become the first. Only I will need to give you some points today that will help you to become anything you want to become in life. Of course, this is all in consideration of all the things that we have been learning this week. Now, for you to improve your life and change your life to whatever you want it to be, the first thing that you will need to do, remember the topic of today is evaluate and reset. Evaluate and reset. So we are going to start with evaluation, and that is why I need you to have some things written down. If you cannot write it down now, when you listen to the message again, take your pen, take your paper, and you will need, because for you to evaluate your life, you need to write some things down. You need to be able to put things down and be able to really do the practical assignment. So the idea is that wherever you are today is as a result of something. Let's look at your life generally. Let's start from the general picture of your life. Do you like what you have? Are you really absolutely satisfied with your life? If you are not, if you are satisfied with your life, there is a reason that brought you there. There are some principles and procedures that you have observed that made you to be who you are today. If you are not totally satisfied with your life, there are also some principles or procedures that you have failed to observe or to follow. That is why you are where you are today. So every one of us are where we are, not by accident. We are where we are not because God wanted you to be there, or somebody disturbed you or stood on your way to be there. Sometimes we feel that my life is like this because this is what God wanted for me. God has already made all the provisions, man. God has already made all the provisions, ladies and gentlemen. He has already done for his own part. He has even died for you. He has even given his life for you to make sure that you have a future and to have life in abundance. He has already done all that is dependent on him. Now, where you are today depends only on the laws, principles, and procedures of God and of life that you observed or that you failed to observe. Now, to make that more concrete, let's examine your life by your satisfactory level. Let's even start from let's say you are successful. Let's say you are very successful. Let's say you started from high school and you are the best student in your school. So and you finish university and you have maybe first class or very good degree, and you are working well, you got a job and you have a good salary, you are satisfied with your life, or you have a good business and everything is going for you. Now, how do you evaluate your life? You have to stop and say, what were the things I did right that made me to be where I am today? You have to look out for the practices that you had that made you to be the best student in your school or to be a good student. What were the principles that you followed that made you to pass your exams? What were the rules that you lived by? What were the patterns of life of behavior that you had that made you to finish that high school, to finish that school well? What were the value system that guided you to be able to attain those successes you have in your life? Or let's take it another way. Have you ever been successful in anything that you did? Now go back, time to rewind and think, what were the things you did right that led to that success? You have to try and meditate and remember. Just a few weeks or a few months before that success, what were the things you did? What were the decisions you took? What were the actions you took? What were the beliefs or belief system that you followed? Whose advice did you follow? Who instructed you? What did you do right? What are the discipline that you practiced? So what the things that there were always things that you did that led to one result or the other. So if you can investigate the stories and the history of your successes, you'll be able to see that there were some things you did right, that there were some patterns that were behind them, that were some rules you followed, there were some principles that you observed, there were some actions that you did right, there were some responses, attitude that you followed that made you to have and to record those successes that you had in your life. Now let's now see the things. Let's look at another picture of your life. What are the areas of your life where you are not so satisfied? What are the spheres of your life where you are not happy? Or what are the areas of your life where you feel that you have failed? Or is it in your life generally? Do you think you have failed all through your life in general? So let's now see if the same principle appeals to, the same principles applies to failure as well. Both failure and success are not accidental. Failure has reasons behind them, and successes also have reasons behind them. So if you fail or you succeed, there are some principles that you either observed or that you failed to observe. That is why you experience those failure or successes. So now let's go ahead and examine some of the principles that you either failed to observe, or some of the habits that might have been bad habits or bad patterns of life or bad attitudes that you followed that led to your failure. So let's say that you are totally unsatisfied with where you are right now in your life. You think that you could have been higher. Then you could have gone higher, or you could have attained greater success. Then you have to stop and say, at what point did I begin to slide? At what point did I begin to go down? At what point did I begin to not to see the successes that I had wished for? What are the steps that I didn't take? Or what were the wrong steps that I took? What are the principles that I failed to observe? Or what were the value system that I've changed in my life, or that I've never observed in my life? Or what were the the actions that I refused to take? Or what were the right actions that I took? So there is always, when you have something in your life, is as a result of some things that you did or you didn't do. So life is not an accident. Life is a result of actions and consequences. Consequences of our actions, or consequences of lack of actions. So unfortunately, weak people, they only believe in luck, accident, or destiny. But the truth is that real people, strong people, they will rather analyze their lives. They will rather look for causes and effects. Our lives are as a result of some causes and some effects. If there are some effects in our lives, it's because there are some causes that led us there. So if there's anything that we have in our life, result or lack of result, it is only because there are some causes, there are some reasons for whatever we see or whatever we don't see. For example, what God used to help me in my own case was that I told you the first day on Monday how my sister was used to challenge me. I discovered that when I was in high school, I was not a bad student. I couldn't study. I didn't study at all. And I was thinking that the people who were the best students, that they were genius, and that God had given them special mind or special brain. I thought that they were born brilliant, and I was not born brilliant. So I would not study. I would not do my own work, because there were some other conditions, because I was, always going to the forest or to the bush to work for daily living. So I did not know that the people who were successful and who were the best students were only as good because they were always following all the assignments from school. They were always doing all their own works, and they were always going to do personal studies and self-education. But I didn't know that was important. And I didn't see the result or the connection between self-development, self-education, and assignment from classes and success and results in the examinations. I was only thinking that the examinations that people were giving is the only thing that determined our marks. I didn't know that it is the preparation that people were going through all year long, the assignments that they were doing, and the self-education they were doing on a daily basis that affected the end result that they were having at the end of the term, at the end of the semester. So life is like that. Our whole life is as a result of causes and effect. Whatever result you have today in your life is as a result of the things you either did right or you did wrong, or things that you either refused to do or that you agree to do. So let me give you another example from my life. I was a pastor, and I was a pastor of a very successful, at this stage, I was having, in 8 years, our church was 15,000 people. And to have a 15,000 people church in 8 years, I was the pastor of the largest church in Europe. I was one of the most successful young pastors in the whole world. But as successful as I was not a millionaire. Our church was doing, we were doing well financially, but we were always spending all the money we had before the end of the month. So even though we could gather as much as $20,000 a month, but by the end of the month, that 20,000 was all spent, and we were always in the red. And but I didn't understand why I was always at the mercy of some givers in the church, or businessmen in the church, and I was all behaving like all other pastors. And you know what the pastors were always doing? They would always go to every church, in every church service, to give from 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes messages on giving, and always exploiting the people and gearing them and encouraging them to give and give and give, and always looking for businessmen and always looking for ways that to manipulate or maneuver them to give, and always coming up with different excuses or different reasons to make people give. It's because pastors were desperate. I was also a desperate pastor because the money that was coming in was always being used over. But I never knew if that was because of lack of understanding from my part. I thought I knew everything because I was a pastor of 15,000 people and I was one of the most successful pastors. But I didn't know that even though I was successful in the area of pastoring and I was, having success, but the reason I was having that success in pastoring was because I studied, I worked hard, I sought God, I, spent time with God, with the Bible. I did everything right. I observe all the rules and the laws when it comes to church ministry, when it comes to ministry, when it comes to church growth, when it comes to success in ministry. But when it comes to money and finances in church, or financing the church, or prosperity of the church, I didn't know otherwise. I only knew what I heard other pastors talk about. I was only copying other pastors. And what other pastors were saying is that the church is only sustained by what people give, and that only the sheep must supply the shepherd. And so you have to find a way to fleece the sheep. You have to find a way to, make the sheep give. And so that's what I was doing. But it was all not working, at least, it was all a wrong model and a wrong practice. So I was not a millionaire, and the church even was not a millionaire. We were always looking for ways of making money and trying to make people to give. And all these people were also unfortunate. They were also, struggling, and and they thought they were serving God that way. And that is the way I, as a pastor, was making them to look as if they were serving God, to make them pledge this and pledge that. And sometimes we do 2 offerings or 3 offerings just to always come to the church with the needs of the church and all that. But the problem really was that I was not versed and I was not educated in the area of the laws of money. I didn't even know the loss of money. I never even heard about the loss of money. The loss of money that I knew at that point was that give and it shall be given to you, or give your tithe, or give your offering. So the only thing we ended up doing that way, when you are telling people that the only way to prosperity and to abundance of the pastor and the church is for the people to give, then you are only milking your sheep. You are only milking the church. And that is horrible. That's like exploiting people. But we didn't see it that way. So even though we were doing that, but we still never had enough. Until one day, God helped me, and I came across the book of one book that I was coming from the United States, and I was at JFK Airport, that is, John Kennedy Airport in New York, and I had a stopover that was going to be for 4 hours. 4 hours stopover, and I was just walking about the airport, and I just wanted to waste that time, wind it off, but I'm also I don't like to waste time. I need to maximize my time. So I didn't have any book with me. So I was going to the bookstore to see what are books, and there were no Christian books in the airport. So, but that week was the week that Donald Trump released one of his books, and the book he released was on how billionaires think, or something like that. How billionaires think, or think like a billionaire. Yeah, think like a billionaire. And I saw that book. Everybody was, advertising it and everything. And I didn't want to buy it because I was saying, oh, this man is, he's an unbeliever. He's having a lifestyle that is not a Christian lifestyle. I was even ashamed that somebody would recognize me, that I'm reading this book that's by unbeliever. And, I wanted to be the right pastor, to just read Christian books and read Bible and just be holy. But I felt that something was pushing me to buy that book. So I went and risked it and bought the book. I read the book for that 4 hours when I was in the airport, and then I spent another 6 hours when I was flying between New York and Paris, France, to read the book. And by the time I got to Paris, I had another stopover and I finished the book. I couldn't believe it. I said, man, if this man is a billionaire, I now understand why he's a billionaire. It's not because he's smarter than me. Actually, I didn't see too many laws in that book that of money or something like that. But what that book did for me is not to become a millionaire or a billionaire. No, that's not the book that helped me. But what that book did to me is that I saw from that book that I am smarter than that man. That I am not that this man is not smarter than me, that I am wiser than him. Even though I'm a pastor, but I am wiser than him. But the only problem I had is that he is in the area of money, and he is very well read and versed in the area of money, and he knew all about money. But I never spent my time. I never devoted my time to study that subject. I was only studying the Bible and spiritual stuff. And that is why I was only good in where I dedicated myself, in where I was educated. So I knew that the only thing that book did for me is that I knew if I will also dedicate my time, a good number of my time, to study about money, to read all I could about, if I could do as much as I did with the church, that made me a mega church, the biggest pastor in Europe. If I could study like that, things about money, I even without becoming a businessman, even without studying or doing business full time like that to Donald Trump, I can at least devote 2 days a week or a few hours a week to just studying this subject, and I knew I would become a millionaire. So that is what that book did for me, because I don't normally like to mention the name of the book that I read, because everybody wants to go and buy the book. But that's not the book. It's not the book that did. I wrote a book since then. My own book, Money Won't Make You Rich. It has more truth in it than any other book about money that I've ever read. If you can get my book, Money Won't Make You Rich, you will discover that you can also become a millionaire. It's not difficult. But I didn't know that it's not difficult. Actually, life is not difficult. Everything is easy in life, only if you get to know the laws. So now, what that book helped me to do, to read the Donald Trump book, is that it helped me to analyze my life and to see the picture of my life the way it really is. That the reason why, so I began to study more about loss of money and everything. And what I discovered is that even if God was going to be giving me $1 million US every month, I was still going to be in lack of money. I was still going to be dependent. I was still going to be spending everything every month, and still be asking people to give more. And that is because I didn't know the loss of money. And this is what I see with pastors all over the world. Even pastors who are billionaires, they are still at the mercy of the people. They are still asking people to give to them. Why? The people are poor, but they are still asking for people to give them money. Why? Because they don't apply the laws of money. They are gathering money, they are using people's money, but they don't know the laws of money. So they are always at the mercy of the church, of people. But that is in the area of money in my life. I'm just showing you that only after I evaluate my life, analyze it, saw what I was doing wrong, the principles I was not observing, that now I began to gain and look for other set of principles that helped me to change my life and to be able to become a millionaire. So I wanted to become a millionaire in 2 years, but I did it in 9 months. And the same thing with when I was a dullard in high school, when my sister told me that, when I discovered that, geniuses are not born, and these people are not the genius, they are just people that worked hard. I discovered another law, that it is hard work that makes you a genius. So from high school, when I was just 19, I changed. I found out that what I was doing was wrong. I was not reading, I was playing, I was spending a lot of time with my friends, I was going to work in the farm, I was not reading books. So I changed that lifestyle, even though I was still going to farm, but I started hiding from my friends, and I started reading 6 hours every day, all through night, looking for books. And as a result, I become one of the best. Just 1 year was left before our graduating exams, and I became one of the best graduates in that school. And I went ahead to win federal government scholarship, because I changed the principle by which I live by, and began to adopt another principle. And from the dullest student in the school, I became one of the brightest. From one of the hopeless, they said I would never get anywhere. I became from the village where nobody ever achieved much, and I became one of the top prospects in the whole world, because I changed the principle that was. So what I'm trying to say is that wherever you are today is as a result of, if you don't like where you are today, it's as a result of some wrong formulas, some wrong principles that you have observed. So let me now help you to give you a list of what you are supposed to reevaluate in your life. What area and what principles will you need to reevaluate to change your life? Number one, you must find out the habits that you have. Take a sheet of paper and write a list of all your habits. What are the good habits that you have, and what are the wrong habits that you have? Maybe you have a habit of sleeping late. How is that affecting you? Is that helping you to be more productive? Is that helping you to maximize yourself? Or maybe you have a habit of sleeping too long. Is that a good habit for you? How is that adding value to you? How is that helping you to become the best you need to be? What are the other habits you have? Maybe you have a habit of talking on phone with people and trying to be good to everybody. How is that habit helping you? How is that habit putting money on your table? How is that habit making you and propelling you to your goals? So, for example, I discovered that successful people don't waste too much time on people. They don't, try to please everybody. If you are because in my culture, where I came from, our culture is the kind of that wants you to be good to everybody, to want to please everybody, to want to make people think that you are good. So you are wasting your time. You are not putting your life goals as your priority. But for successful people really become great in life. They put their life goals as their priority, and they put every other thing secondary. So they don't waste time talking to people on phone and spending a lot of time doing that, while they have goals and plans that they have for the day that they have to fulfill. So what are the other habits? I'm sure some of you don't have, because when we talk about habits, people are talking about smoking or drinking. No, habits are things that you do all the time, that it's already part of you. And some of you have habit of going to parties and birthday parties, or this party or that party. But I have discovered that the best thing that I should do is I used to do that a lot. I want to make everybody happy. I want to be, go to everybody's party. Today, I don't even go to visit people. And if I ever go to visit people, I never spend more than 2 hours maximum if I really need to go. But I can go to a party or to visit people maybe once in 3 months or once in 6 months. I don't waste my time on that anymore, because that time that I would have used going to birthday parties, congratulate this, congratulate that, and I discovered that I could use that time to be adding value to myself, to be reading new books, to be doing research, to be looking for secrets and looking for the principles and deriving principles and making myself better. So what are the habits that you have observed that have not brought you to success? Then on the other hand, what you need to do is to look for the habits that will bring you success. Okay, what are the good habits that could bring you success? Develop the habit of reading books. Develop the habit of researching. Develop the habit of doing investigation. Develop the habit of analyzing things. Develop the habit of getting informed. Develop the habit of self-education. Develop the habit of listening to successful people. Develop the habit of doing research in your area of passion or the area of your calling. So there are different habits that you want to develop that are good. Develop the habit of going to be in the environment of successful people. Develop the habit of conversing and surrounding yourself with people that you want to be like. So you need to change the habits that have led you to where you are if you don't like where you are. Next thing that you want to pay attention to is that you want to look at the patterns of your life. What are the patterns of your life? What are the patterns? What is the meaning of pattern? Pattern is what are the things that I normally do when something happens to me. Let's say, for example, when I'm stressed, I like to go and sleep. That is a pattern. Or when I'm sad, I would like to go and cry and pity myself. That is a pattern. Or when I'm not feeling good, I like to go and eat when I'm depressed. Oh, that is a pattern. Or when I feel happy, I like to go and party and go and do shopping. That is a pattern. So what are the patterns of your life? Or when somebody is talking bad about me, I get moody and I cut people off from my life. That is a pattern. So what are the bad patterns that you have, or the patterns? Study. You need to sit down and review and study your life. What are the patterns that have not accelerated your success? What are the patterns that have not helped you in life? And then you have to examine those patterns and say, okay, these patterns are not the patterns of life that I want, either for your family life or for your financial life or for your happiness or for your spiritual life. What are the patterns that are not helping you to get to where you want to be in life? And you have to make a list of those patterns. And then on the other hand, get the list of better patterns that you want to change into. What are the better patterns that will help you to be able to develop other successful habits, patterns in your life? Next thing that you want to look at you want to look at your attitude. What are the attitudes that you had that have not brought you to success? Or what are the attitudes that you had that maybe have hampered your success or hampered your progress in life? What is attitude? Attitude is how we respond to people's behavior or to us, or how we respond to happenings around us. When things happen to you, how do you respond? And we know that the right attitude is that you respond creatively. You respond as God would have liked you to respond, what is happening. So it is not what is happening to you that really determines who you are. It is not what the conditions of your birth that determine who you are. It is not either you have money or your parents or your relatives have money that determine who you are. It is actually your attitude, your response. So you have to study, what are my responses? For example, if somebody disappoints me and let me down, what do? Do I just shut up? That is a reaction. That is my attitude. Do I have the attitude of shutting down and saying, okay, I will never open my heart to people again? But that by shutting down that way, you have shut down also good people that God wants to have in your life. Or let's say, when somebody behaves bad to you, you get angry. That's an attitude that is the wrong attitude. So these are wrong attitudes. Maybe, when somebody offends you, you cut relationship and you walk away. Maybe you have walked away from your destiny that way as well. So get a list. Do an inventory of your attitudes and what are the wrong attitudes that might have hampered your progress or disturbed you and stood on your way one time or the other. And then be determined to change those attitudes into positive attitude. Look for attitude of great men. What are the attitude of great men? Like, for example, in my book, Money Won't Make You Rich, I wrote about lifestyle, what for successful people do and what billionaires do. But I don't want this message to just be about money. But this is in any area of your life. Look for the attitude and study your attitude, and make a list, another list of better attitude, constructive attitude of successful people. If you want to, you can also go and study the habits of successful people. You can go and study the patterns of life of successful people, especially in the area. For example, if you want to become a scientist, study the scientists and study their patterns, their habits, their good habits, their good patterns, and their good attitudes. See how they respond to their profession or to wherever or whatever whatever they have achieved success that you admire. Now, the next thing that you want to study in your life, you want to find out is, what is my attitude to time? How do I use time? You've got to study time and say, okay, what do I do with my time? That is another thing you want to examine, because your time, what you do with your time, has contributed to a large degree to who you are today. It is, what you are. So examine, sit down critically to see, what do I do with my 24 hours? How many of my 24 hours is productive? How many of them are not productive? How much of the time do I use to further my progress, to do what I want to do, to seek my calling, or to enrich my calling, or to pursue my calling? And how much of the time do I use to just please other people? Or how much of the time do I use to just work, to just do my job at work? And how much of this time do I invest in myself? So your attitude to time is another point. That's number 4, time. How do I spend my time? How do I use my time? Timing is number 4 thing that you want to study, you want to observe. You have to analyze your time, what you do with your time, and get a list of what you do, what are the way you are wasting your time, or you have used your time in a way that has not contributed to your progress. And then you have to write another list of what you could have done with your time better. What are the better things you could have done with your time? So you have another list and say, okay, these are the things I could do better instead of these things that I used to do. Another thing you want to do to improve your life is that you want to, these number 5 things, the number 5th, that number attitude to time, or the use of time, analysis of time, is number 4. Number 5, you want to also examine your activities, your daily activities. Sometimes we get busy doing one thing or the other, and that's what Solomon called vanity of vanity. And vanity is when you do something and it is not you don't see the result of. For example, how can you spend 1 hour of your life and you don't see the result of that 1 hour? What is the result of every hour of your life? What is the result of every day of your life? You must be able to put something in a tangible form, either in the form of product, or in the form of results, or in the form of money, or in the form of change lives, or in the form. You must be able to measure your day. Every day of your life must be measured, and it must be measured by your pragmatism. How pragmatic are you? You have to examine your activities and say, what is pragmatism? Pragmatism means what are the results of these activities? This activity that I'm engaged in, what has it given me? You must zero down on yourself and say, every one of my activity must result in one result or the other, in one fruit or the other. So if somebody wants me to talk with them, to come and just talk with them at the car park and sit down, or just to come to a restaurant and sit down and talk, what is that going to give me? What is going to be the end result of that, my talk? If I'm going to sit down in car park or in the restaurant for 2 hours, and I'm going to be listening to you, and we're going to be joking and talk, hello, hi guy, nice to see you, oh wow, wow. What is that going to yield me? So that is pragmatism. That is number 5 point, that you want to judge your life and examine your life by your pragmatism. What are the things that I do, and what are the results they yield me? Some things yield you result, but they might yield you very little result compared to other things. So look for the activity that will yield you the maximum result in your life. Look for things that will give you maximum visible results. There are some things that are indirect results, but examine them and see anything that is not helping you to go to your goals and to move faster to your mission in life. Those things, you have to reduce the activity, the time you spend on them, and begin to spend more time on things that will really help you to move faster to your life and to your destiny. So I've been talking a lot, and there are a lot of more things I could talk about. I have books on this, but they are in Russian language. I have to get them translated, and maybe you will be able to make them available to you one day. But I think you got the idea of what I'm trying to say, that you have to evaluate your life and reset your life. You have to make the list of those things I've told you, and evaluate your life and reset your life and start your life all over again. Another thing, let me give you a number 6. You have to look at your value system. What are your values? What are the things that are important to you? Some people, their value system is their family. Also, but in that sense, sometimes we relatives, family, we want to please everybody, and sometimes we overdo that. You have to examine it. Is that the right value system you want to have? Or you want to make God your value system, the calling of God upon your life, your top value system. So you have to put your priorities in order, and you have to say, because your values are the basis of what you use to build your relationship, what you use to take your decisions and everything. So number 6 thing that you want to pay attention to are, what are the top values that you want to have in your life? Maybe you want to put the things that will make you to please God and to fulfill your life destiny here to be your top value, because your values determine all your decisions you take in life. And so number 7, let me give you another one as number 7. Principles. What are the principles you know? Do you know the principles for successful marriage? Do you know the principles for success, to be a success in business? Do you know the principles to live a healthy lifestyle? Do you know the principles to be, to work in the supernatural? Do you know the principles to be first and not the last? So 7 points. I've given you 7 points that will help you to evaluate your life and to restart your life. I can give you testimony. For example, when I was in my 20s and my 30s, because I grew up in my village, I was in poverty and I didn't have food to eat and everything. When I came to Europe, I began to eat a lot. And then it was only in my 40s I discovered that, in my 30s I discovered that I was getting too big, and that eating too much is not healthy for me. So I have to begin to study what are the laws and the principles of eating well and of living a healthy lifestyle. And I have to apply, even though I was a Christian, I was a pastor, successful pastor, but I was not living a healthy lifestyle. So for me to live a healthy lifestyle, I have to study the laws of healthy living. And, so it doesn't matter if I'm spiritual, that doesn't mean that I will not get sick. You said, okay, for example, for you not to be sick, those are laws you have to follow. And sometimes we say, why am I sick? It is Satan after me, or demons, or some wishes. No, sometimes it's because we don't follow the laws of health. So for you not to be sick, you've got to follow the laws of health. Of course, we know there are exceptions, but at least you have to do what you need to do. I told you already what I needed to do for me to become a millionaire. I didn't know that anybody could become a millionaire. Everybody could become a millionaire. But now I know better. I know everybody could become. Everybody could become a success in whatever you do. I'm a pastor in Europe where it's not easy. People said you will never have a church of white people, will never listen to black people. I am the only person in the world that pastors and leads 99% white people. Why? Because I know the laws now, and the laws have helped me. Everything people said is not possible will be possible. They said Europe, you will never build a mega church in Europe. I built a mega church in Europe. Why? Because I know the laws of life now. Everything is possible. Life is predictable. Anything you want to become, you can become. And I'm going to give my next target, my next goal. I've given myself 10 years to become a billionaire. I'm going to become a billionaire, even though I'm a pastor, even though I'm not a businessman. But I'm going to prove that that is possible without even doing business full time. I can still be a billionaire. And that's why I want to go back to my country, Nigeria, and prove to everybody that I can change one country, even without becoming a businessman. I mean, without becoming a politician, and without becoming a president or even a governor. I will prove that one person can change a country. I have already proved that in Ukraine, but people would like me to see it in my country. And God has given me the go ahead. I'm going to go to Nigeria and prove that with my coming to that country, the country will totally be changed. And it's not talk. And I will prove it, and people will see the result. Well, time is going so fast, and I hope you've been blessed today. And I want to, read what you have been writing, and I want to see if this has been a blessing to all of you today or not.